And we are now going live.
We don't have any intro music.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this August Legends and Leapers program. We are just allowing everyone into the room and we'll begin the program shortly. Thank you.
So that was part of the role of the chair.
Yeah, that's a contract dispute. You know, the theme music thing is she has her version and I have my version. We haven't been able to negotiate. She wants I'm Every Woman and I want Started from the Bottom. And so we're trying to find something kind of in the middle.
Hey, with a mashup of I'm Every Woman with Started from the Bottom.
There you go.
Now we're here. So Ricky, I may be willing to compromise on this. And we'll have to figure something out. Anthony, remember that he said that, so we need to make sure we put this in his contract as well.
Well, those are great options. Great options.
It's recorded at this point, so
It's
Right.
you can't take it back.
no backseats.
No backseat.
No bad seats, right?
Once again, thank you all for joining us for this month's Legends and Leapers event. We're now going to start our program, turning things over to Anthony Barnes, Amac COO. Anthony?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Amac's Legends and Leapers program. I'm Anthony Barnes, Amac's Chief Operating Officer. You may have noticed that we took a month off in July as we were coming off our annual Airport Business Diversity Conference in June. So if this is your first time joining us for a monthly conversation, you are in for a treat. We are excited to hear from all of our legends and leapers who are examples of AMAC promoting our mission and vision of a diverse industry. Our organization is fortunate to have industry giants and rising stars in our membership who continue to pave the way for minorities and women in our industry. And discussions like this are so important as they are meant to enlighten and inspire all who are listening. As a reminder, you can view past discussions in the member portal of our website. If you are not a member, we invite you to become a member today at www.amac-org.com. And if you hear something today that sparks an idea or a question for the panelists, feel free to drop it in the Q&A and we'll get to as many questions as possible within our time frame. At this time, I would like to turn the program over to our moderators for today, AMAC Board Chair, Ricky Smith, and AMAC Emerging Leaders Chair and Board Secretary, Lauryn Mangum Reed.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and welcome everyone to our restart of Legends and Leapers. We're so excited, one, because we have a great legend and a great leaper for this program, but we're also excited coming out of an amazing conference a couple months ago, and so we're ready to really take off. I'm personally excited about coming out of an amazing conference because the conference gave me an opportunity to prove to everyone that I can carry this program by myself without Lauryn. And so I appreciate all the feedback that I received during the conference on the amazing job that I did carrying the program without Lauryn. But we're going to keep Lauryn on the program. She has a restricted role, so I'll try not to delve into her role too much by introducing the panel members. That's a role that she has. But I will say this. You know, every month we have amazing panel members and we kind of go into the next month wondering how are we going to match the previous month. Well, this month, I think we've hit it out of the park. I mean, Daniel Halpern is not just a legend in its name, but he is an influencer. He's been an influencer for many years. He's a thought leader. He is a mentor to so many people, known and unknown. And he is certainly someone in this business and outside of this industry that we look to kind of make sure that our interests are represented and that people are hearing what's important to us and giving respect to the issues that we have. And so we truly want to thank him for his service over the last many years. We want to thank him for continuing to support AMAC and being on this program. Bridget has been on fire the last 5 years as her career has progressed. And so those of you that have been paying attention to her, you've seen her move a couple times over the last 3 years or so, each one positioning herself to be not just more influential in the industry, but also advancing her career to what many of us believe will be her ultimate setting. And that is to be the head of some organization of influence in this industry. So we're very happy to have her, not just on the board, but we're also happy to share her career progression as well. And so my contract says that at this point, I'm supposed to turn it over to Lauryn, who herself has been on fire over the last 5 years as well. And so, Lauryn, if you have something to say, this is probably the best time to do it.
Well, first and foremost, Ricky, it has been a pleasure hanging out with your amazing team in Baltimore yesterday. And I don't know how they work for you, but they do a phenomenal job and they make you look really good. I don't know what your role is as far as the airport is concerned, but your team is phenomenal. And I hope they're on here. If you are tuning in, please feel free to type the truth in the chat of how Ricky was just bragging about how I carry Legends and Leapers and how he doesn't know what he would do if it wasn't for me and this show, as far as all of the ratings, the rave reviews that we've been getting. So that's neither here nor there, but if you are tuning in from BWI Airport, feel free to just kind of chime in the chat of all of the accolades and all the amazing things that the Ricky Smith was saying about me yesterday. So neither here nor there, he kind of took part of my role in introducing our amazing speakers today, but I'm gonna go ahead and do what I do best. And that is actually read you guys the bios if you haven't had the opportunity, or if you haven't met these two dynamic individuals. So I'm going to go ahead and actually start with Daniel Halpern. So let me tell you guys, if you weren't at the AXN conference that was just put on last week, Jackmont Hospitality did a phenomenal job sponsoring and hosting one of the happy hour events with a live chef presentation. And that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the amazing things that Jackmont is doing. But Daniel is the president and CEO and co-founder of Jackmont Hospitality. He has over 30 years of experience in the food service industry and is also responsible for the management of Jackmont's day-to-day operations located in 6 states. He sets the strategic course of the firm on business development techniques and acts as an advisor to senior management in the company's board of directors, creating key alliances and overseeing all financial matters. Daniel has led Jackmont Hospitality from its inception in March of 1994 to its current status as a multifaceted food service company with more than $160 million in managed volume. Prior to his tenure with Jackmont, he worked for several hospitality firms in a variety of positions, serving as a financial analyst for Holiday Inn Worldwide, one of the largest lodging corporations. There he managed corporate financial projections for acquisitions, divestitures, and major renovations of all company-owned hotels. As the DM for Gourmet Services, Inc., an Atlanta-based institutional food service company, he supervised the operations of multiple college and university dining programs. He's published widely and lectured around the world on industry-related topics covering economic investments in communities, supplier diversity, and political activism and business development. The accolades, guys, they go on and on and on, just as far as his community involvement, as far as his collaboration with notable political leaders, and everything that he's done over the past 3 decades, including from a university level as a former board member of the Tuskegee University School of Hospitality Management, and also serving as a member of President Barack Obama's National Finance Committee as a trustee for the 2008 Presidential Inaugural Committee. He's also a graduate of School of Hotel Administration at Cornell University and has been designated as a food service management professional by the National Restaurant Association. So he is also, we always have to talk about the major power players behind our legends. And he's actually married to Senator Sonia Halpern, and they have 3 children, Jeffrey, Nathaniel, and Salome, their daughter. Now that is our legend, guys. Please feel free to check out the bio on our website. I just try to kind of condense it a little bit because it is extensive. Now I want to go ahead and introduce our leaper. Now, Bridget recently joined Hudson as the Vice President of Partner Relations and Business Diversity. She's responsible for partner outreach and development, among other activities. Having served in a senior management capacity for a major rental car provider, and more recently for one of the largest airport parking management companies in North America, Bridget has significant airport industry experience. With nearly 25 years of experience, she brings a best practice approach to business diversity efforts. She's also an attorney. She is a bad girl, okay? Also an attorney and highly respected in the aviation industry, as it's been evident by her involvement with several industry trade organizations, obviously including Amac. She currently serves on the Amac board as the chair of nominations and elections committee, and is a key committee member of both the bylaws and charter committees. Bridget is a graduate of Dillard University with a degree in political science and earned a JD from Southern University Law Center. She is admitted to the bar in Louisiana as an active member of her sorority, which I mean, neither here nor there. In her spare time, Bridget serves as a board member to Step Up of the Southern region and has volunteered at Bishop Dunn Catholic School and with the Step Up Dallas and First Tee of Dallas as well. So we have an amazing program in store for you guys with some heavy hitters. You know, we talk about legends and leapers, and Bridget, in my mind, is a legend as well, because her accolades have been absolutely amazing over the past several years as well. So Ricky, I'm done with bios now. Whatever you'd like to say, you have about 5 seconds.
Thank you so much, Lauryn, for your permission. So let me do this. Let me start out with the first question. As you know, Lauryn and I will be bouncing back and forth with questions and some follow-up. So my first question is, I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock right now to not know that we are in the midst of a resurgence. And at the center of that surge is this whole debate around wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, or getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated. And obviously that has, to some degree, a direct impact on your respective abilities to be successful in this industry from a business standpoint, if not an indirect impact. Without necessarily delving into your health decision or whatever, can you just share some insight from your perspective as to why it's important, from your perspective again, to either vaccinate or wear a mask, or to not vaccinate or to not wear a mask? Again, not trying to get into your health preference or your health decision, but one way or the other, there are arguments made on both sides of the issue. And so I'd like the audience to hear from your perspective, the significance around wherever you come from. And so you guys can decide who goes first. We normally let you guys kind of battle that out.
I'll let the leaper go first because she's a lawyer.
All right.
Well, I'm pro-vaccine and pro-mask. I'm vaccinated and I'm double masked everywhere I go. So as far as like an argument for it, the rationale is to get back to normal. So in my opinion, to get back to normal, these are the steps that you have to take in order to get back to some semblance of normal. I don't know what normal will look like, once we get this virus under control, but some semblance of normal, we have to do the work to get there. And so in my opinion, my work has been done. I've been vaccinated and I still wear double mask. So that's where I stand on this point.
I certainly share Bridget's sentiments. In my home, obviously I'm vaccinated, my wife has my 3 kids. And then as it relates to our business, right, we encourage everybody to get vaccinated. We certainly had a mask policy in our stores, required not only employees but patrons to wear masks. It's getting a little bit tougher as the political debate gets a little larger. We have holdings in Florida and in Georgia, and you have governors in certain states that maybe aren't as in line with my thoughts on masks and signs. So it makes it a little bit difficult. It makes it very confusing. And a few weeks ago got really confusing when CDC was saying, if you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, don't wear a mask. And I was one of those ones vaccinated wearing a mask. So it's tough times for all of us, and certainly those of us in the aviation space that deal with a lot of people that are traveling. It's extraordinarily complex. So I was glad to see Pfizer got approval. And somebody who has a 5-year-old child, I'm hopeful that the vaccines for the 12 and unders come sooner versus later. So, but I'm going to follow the science.
So staying with that, this whole pandemic situation a little bit more. Both of you represent, sizable business organizations of both influence and importance to your respective communities. Obviously, Hudson is larger than Jackmont, and so there might be a different perspective there. Can you kind of shed some light on, as this pandemic prolong longer than we would like it, that any of us would like it to prolong? What is the sense of urgency to getting beyond this pandemic from your various perspectives?
You want to go first, Dan?
I'll go first as town councilor. I think it just creates a really kind of shaky business environment that makes it really hard for planning moving forward. Obviously, I think a lot of people in our industry right now are facing staffing challenges. That's been tough. You have a unit that has a couple people that unfortunately contract COVID, and you might be shutting down for a few days because everybody's operating on very small staffs as it is. I think one of the reasons that I think vaccines and masks are important are to allow us to get through this sooner versus later. Not to be overly opinionated, but I think if people had gotten vaccinated and wore masks, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we're in today. But unfortunately, seems like the country is split 50-50 on that. And that's a much more larger geopolitical conversation. I guess we can say for a later date at the next AMAC conference around the bar late at night when everybody's feeling good about themselves.
I will say this. I joined Hudson in the late April, and the messaging at Hudson has been build back together. Like, we're in this together. So with that being said, our CEO definitely takes, he pays attention to the environment, what's going on, the employees, how they're feeling about COVID. I mean, most of in our industry, in the entire travel industry, people are what make our business go round, right? So, you have to take care of your people, and our people on the front line of this, interacting with people who may or may not be vaccinated, who, had these very strong political stances that, put our people in jeopardy sometimes. And, we have to be aware of how they're feeling and their and how they, how we need them to interact and still keep customer service and keep the business moving forward. With that being said, Hudson took some really innovative in this whole, in the past 18 months, Hudson took some really innovative steps with making sure that we still kept customer interface with having people there, but still, and we also made it user friendly, where we can have these transactions without actual touching of things, and transactions became touchless and certain airports. So that's the type of things that Hudson is like rolling out and like trying to get past this whole pattern that we're in with the whole COVID situation.
And I feel like we've been trying to stay, I don't want to say stay away from, because, you know, all last year, every conversation was around COVID, right? And now we're shifting in a way, because now it's about vaccination, mask, et cetera. As we're seeing travel passengers increase, those numbers increase big time. And Bridget, one of the things that you talked about was just kind of pivoting and making a transition to accommodate everyone and keep not only your staff safe, but travelers safe as well. So I kind of want to just give everybody the opportunity to talk about some of those different things that you're doing, because that's really a big conversation. Everyone's trying to figure out, how do we keep our staff safe? How do we still maintain operations? Because everyone's trying to, you know, get back open at this point. But what are some things that both of your companies are doing, whether it's internally or in operations, to be able to maintain some type of element of normalcy, right? And keeping your staff and also travelers safe.
You want to go first, Dan, or you want me to go first?
I would think the main thing there, right, is at least in the airport environment versus our street side stores, it's everybody's wearing a mask, right? I think the science has shown, right? You know, the transmission rates are less than 1% if both parties are masked. So I think, you know, in the airport environment, it certainly is, to me, a lot safer. We're certainly trying to do our best to encourage our team members to get vaccinated. And that's a very difficult conversation, because I'm a little naive, I'm a little older, but I thought folks in their 20s and 30s would have been the first ones following the science and get vaccinated. And then you chat with them, you find out that they really don't trust the vaccine and they don't want to put anything in their body. So it's a very unusual time, and there's a lot of different schools of thought that are out here. So it makes it hard, right? Because we can't mandate it. I think with Pfizer passing it, we've seen a few larger organizations start to kind of, you know, get a little bit more forceful about it. And I think we'll see more of that if we move forward. But it's a tough thing. It's hard.
I agree. It is hard. And I think what helps is that the airports still have mask mandates and airlines still have mask mandates. So it kind of makes it, you can't escape that. That's not something that, you know, someone can say, I'm not wearing a mask because I don't have to, I'm outside, it's my right. The airports are requiring you wear a mask, airlines are requiring that you wear a mask. So I think that kind of helps the situation. With Hudson, what we've done over the past year, as I mentioned earlier, we've gone to we started implementing automated retail options in our stores. So you have the option to either see a person and check out with a person, or you can do self-checkout on your own in a number of our locations. So we have that, we've been implementing that, and it doesn't take away from our customer service. It's not meant to take away from customer service. It's there to enhance the situation and help people. You know, you have some people, I mean, I'm the person who likes to, you know, go into the grocery store and I don't want to do self-checkout. I want to go through the line at, you know, I like to have conversations. So I'm that person, but there are other people that would rather just bypass all of that and do it themselves and get in and out of it. And so we've captured both sets of customers there, and we've kept people safe at the same time.
Yeah, I think the transition and kind of it's forced, you know, we talk about our industry, we talk about aviation and just really more so the airports, and things have been pretty much, I don't want to say stagnant, but pretty much the same for so many decades, right? And to see these advancements in technology take place because of such a huge thing like a pandemic, I think it's kind of almost been like a blessing in disguise to really push forward and push that envelope of making a transition and making a pivot to more of a technological age in our industry. So that's great to see, and also a great way to, like you said, give people options, but also keep your staff safe as well. I want to pivot a little bit and go into some conversations that are near and dear to my heart. Dan, you have a phenomenal team at Jackmont. You've got April, who is just an absolute rock star. You got Andrew Pearson in operations. Bridget, Hudson, I mean, you now VP, you guys got Courtney over there, you got Laura. What differences or transitions have you guys been seeing just as far as diversity within your organizations and how that's helped with growth as well?
Bridget, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So I think with any industry, particularly the airline, the travel industry, it's important for everyone to do their part, right? So everyone has to be able to create the space to, you know, to be equitable, the equitable landscape that, we need. We need more minorities in recruitment, career, talent development, the whole nine. So even before, this has been Hudson's model for a long time. I'm not the first minority hire. I won't be the last minority hire. And I think it's important to, to recognize that, recognize companies that recognize that you have to bring people to the table, not just within your company, but with your partners. Bring people to the table, have conversations, make them a part of the business, so that we all can grow in this travel industry.
I would kind of follow up on that. For us, as a minority-owned food service operating company that benefited from the ACDBE program, it's our responsibility to make sure that we hire people that otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity. That's part of the legacy of the program. So, we make it a point when we go out on a hire, we're specifically looking for primarily, I probably shouldn't say this, but primarily Black and brown people. We're a very diverse organization. We don't go out of our way not to do that, but we certainly go out of our way to make sure that folks that otherwise maybe wouldn't have an opportunity can have an opportunity with us, because we've been given such a great opportunity when we were in the ACDB program. So I think that's just our culture. That stems from the legacy of Maynard Jackson. And that's something that I try and drive every day. And I know people like Andrew and April and our VP of Human Resources, Charlie Batten, that we drive. And that's kind of near and dear to our heart. And really, that's our culture.
So, so Daniel, earlier you alluded to the whole issue of how polarized we are as a nation around a host of issues. That polarization is probably a symptom of this whole social reckoning that's going on in our country. Some might argue that this is a chance for women and minorities to move closer to equality or positions of equity. Some might argue that the disruption that it creates is probably allowing the larger establishment, the majority establishment, to solidify its hold on the economy and our lives. As you look at both of your companies again, one obviously larger than the other, and you think about this polarization that's going on, which in your mind is more vulnerable? Is it the smaller company that could be riding the wave of the social reckoning, or is it the larger firms that has always had a hold on capitalization and social norms and what have you?
I'll go first, Bridget.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm probably biased and partial to smaller companies.
Yeah.
I think we've evolved past that, but I think for somebody who's trying to start out and get us, win an opportunity in an airport today to get financing and to move forward and kind of have some of the safety nets that existed previously, I think it's harder for them. I think one of the things that was helpful to us when we got started was that prime concessionaires were providing subtenant financing for their subs. And I think that's something that, myself and a few others have had conversations with people on the Hill about, is through the SBA and small business investment corporations, how do we create that financial framework so that people can take the plunge, take the risk to get in the airport concession space, leveraging the ACDB program, but also not put everything they have at 100% risk. There's a ton of risk in this business. And, for all of us that have put our personal money into it, there's a lot of sleepless nights. And that should be the case, but it shouldn't be that if you have one hiccup that it becomes catastrophic. So, I think just to kind of pivot, we're seeing a lot of wealth aggregated in the hands of a few people in this country. We're talking, hundreds of billions of dollars of people's individual net worth. When somebody gets divorced and the spouse that leaves, is one of the 5 or 6 or 7 wealthiest people in the world, we kind of have a wealth disparity issue, not only in our country, but in the world, that we really need to deal with. I know that's not what we're here to chat about today, but I do think public policy plays a big role. But I do think that if the ACDB program is going to continue and to create companies, the great companies that it's created previously, whether they're still in the program or they've graduated, we have to have a stronger safety net for them, because access to capital is getting tougher, the requirements are getting tougher, and quite honestly, you go through a period like COVID, banks are becoming even more punitive towards people when they hit a misstep.
Bridget?
So for me, I'm sure I think everyone on this panel knows that I'm the daughter of a general contractor out of New Orleans, a small business. My dad started his business probably 35 years ago now. So I mean, I see it both ways. It's tough for both, a minority company, a small business, especially in this industry, because bigger companies generally have more resources, right? So they have more resources, they have access to capital, whereas minority companies small businesses don't necessarily have the same backup, they don't have the same access to those type of resources. So, it's kind of, especially right now with this pandemic, big companies are hurting, but the minority companies are hurting more. Like they're feeling the pain much more than us bigger companies. So I kind of, I see it both ways, more so, probably more impactful more of an impact on the smaller companies.
So I'm going to ask you, unless Lauryn wanted to ask a follow-up, I'm going to pivot to another question.
You know what, Ricky? I yield my time. You go ahead and pivot and we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for Daniel and Bridget, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I want you to envision this industry without Amac. Where would we be?
Dan opened his eyes real quick, Ricky.
I think, Ricky, you and I spent a lot of time on a lot of different phone calls with a lot of different people over the course of last summer.
Yeah.
And without the help of Amac staff, board, membership, some of the things that we were able to get done through Washington, D.C., through rent relief and, getting $1 billion for essentially ACDB concessionaires around the country, and that never would happen without Amac. I'm going to go back a little step further, and I meant to initially thank Amac, and I certainly appreciate the notion of being referred to as a legend. I guess that just means I'm getting old. But my first Amac conference was in New Orleans, I believe it was 1995. And Johnny Cochran was the keynote speaker. Johnny got up there and he's speaking, and he was telling the story about how Tom Bradley called him up and said, "I want to make you chairman of the airport authority." And Johnny was like, "Well, I don't know anything about aviation or the airport or anything, but okay, I'll go do it." And he said the first thing he did was get on the plane and went to Atlanta, Georgia, and met with Maynard Jackson, figure out, okay, what is this aviation space and what do I do? So first and foremost, to me, those guys are the legends, right? They made all of this happen. And then today, for the ecosystem of AMAC, it really is, Ricky, people like you and people like Lance Littles and John Clark, and people that have been in the seat, Mario Diaz, people that have been in the seat running airports that ensure that, access is provided. So, I certainly have had my share of disagreements sometimes with AMAC folks, and some of my friends have been AMAC chairs and that sort of stuff. My good friend Bill Kirk, we fight about it all the time, but it's essential. Because if you really look at the federal landscape and you look at opportunities, it's the ACDB program, the DB program through the Department of Transportation, which really are the most successful programs in creating opportunities for minority women-owned businesses. And I think without an association like AMAC, some of the things that have been improved in the ACDB program certainly would not have been done. So, and as we look at the next generation of entrepreneurs, they wouldn't have an opportunity if it were not for an association like AMAC, which is like, which is, you know, certainly the reason that we enjoy supporting the organization. It's a way of giving back. And, you know, as we look at different landscapes now, and we're a prime concessionaire and we're bidding on things, it happens. And if you just look at kind of the lineage of firms that have graduated, Johnny Cochran becomes the chairman of LAX, Concessions International starts, Concessions International helped a company like Jackmont Hospitality emerge, a company like HBF emerge, and other companies around the country. So the two go hand in hand. No association like AMAC. There's not a lot of companies that are in existence today.
I wholeheartedly agree with Dan's statements. Dan, just so that you're comfortable, I actually got the invitation to be a legend, and then they told me I was a leaper. So I thought I was the legend.
Well, I'm already under the assumption you're the legend, and I'm trying to be a leaper, so I'm fine with that.
I thought I was a legend, and then I said, "Oh, I didn't know I was a legend, but okay, I'll take it." And then they rescinded and said I was a leaper. But
that's only because I'm older than you. Trust me.
But I can't imagine. AMAC was the first trade organization that I was exposed to within this industry. My first AMAC was probably 2 years after Dan's first AMAC. I can't remember if it was Atlanta or if it was Memphis, but that was my first one. I was introduced to the organization by the New Orleans Aviation Board Chair, Justice Revius Ortiq, who was emphatic that I attend this conference and I start networking so that I can move up through the ranks. So, and without his guidance, he's now deceased, but without his guidance and his push for me to get out there to, you know, and speak with people and network with people and not be shy. AMAC continues to put me out of my comfort zone, but that's how you learn, right? So without that type of guidance and with that type of push, and I've continued to meet people in AMAC and throughout the years involved with AMAC that have pushed me to keep moving, to keep pushing, to keep growing, and to keep elevating. So I don't think that would have been the case if there wasn't an AMAC around.
Now, one thing that I appreciate always when we have these conversations in Legends and Leapers is everyone always makes it a point to make sure that they shout out the individuals that have helped them get to where they are, or introduce them to the industry or the organization. And both of you have been in this industry for quite some time. My question is, and Dan, I know that you have a background in hospitality, right? Did you start off, like, were you younger and said, when I grow up, I want to be in aviation? You know, how did you get your start into this industry? And Bridget, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but did it come at like 15 years old, or was it something that just kind of fell on, like, just on top of your head? You know what I mean? How did you make that pivot, or did you start just deciding, hey, I want to get into this industry? What did that look like for you guys? I know that's what a lot of people, especially my age, are looking at, is how do I get into the industry? They're hearing more about it. They're realizing it's more than just airlines and getting buddy pass tickets, that there's so many opportunities. So what did those beginnings look like for you guys as you transition?
For me, I guess I'm one of those lifers, right? I was a freshman in high school, and, you know, needed a job. So I started washing dishes, and I've been in the industry ever since. So it's something that's just kind of started off in the dish room, became a busboy, became a cook, went to school. And I was fortunate. I never planned it, but I always worked for entrepreneurs. While I was in high school, I worked for entrepreneurs. I came out of school, I worked for a legendary entrepreneur by the name of Nathaniel Goldston, who owned and built a company called Gourmet Services, which, you know, one point in time was probably the largest Black-owned food service company in the country, primarily providing food service to historically Black colleges and universities. So I got opportunity. Dillard. I was gone by the time Bridget got there, but Charles Femer run me off campus. That's a whole nother story. But no, it's just, and then you just look at the opportunities, right? And one of the things that really made the opportunity for the airport space compelling was this thing called the DVE program. And there was a public policy in place that created an avenue. So we were doing some other things, but we really had a keen interest in the airport space, and we're talking to different organizations out there. And you know, fortunately, some opportunities arose. First at DFW, then in Atlanta, and from there we continued to try and grow slowly but surely in the aviation space, as well as growing our street side business. So, but the program was an extraordinarily attractive avenue to get into the airport concession space. Bridget?
So for me, my lifetime goal was to be the mayor of New Orleans. And to do that, I was going to law school, and I did. I went to law school, and but before even attending law school, I interned for the mayor's office in New Orleans. I interned in the Office of Economic Development, and I went to my first year law school, and I wrote the mayor and said, I need an intern. I've worked in a personal injury firm. I wasn't completely satisfied with that. I worked in a small boutique criminal defense firm, and I didn't like that. And I clerked at a large law firm, and I did not like that. So he gave me two choices. He said, he just had implemented a WINGS program. It was an internship program with the city of New Orleans. And he said, you've got two choices. You can go to Sewage and Water Board, or you can go to the New Orleans Aviation Board. And for whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure why, I picked New Orleans Aviation Board. And
Sewage and water just didn't sound as attractive.
It wasn't. And I mean, my mom worked at the New Orleans airport for majority of my life. She was a flight attendant, then she moved into reservations, and then she moved to, and then she transferred over to the airport. But so I mean, I guess airport life was kind of in my blood, sort of say, but from there, so I absolutely enjoyed my time working at the New Orleans Aviation Board, so much so that I would come back during every holiday, every summer, and work there. And then I moved on. I was like, well, I don't think that that's necessarily the right career move for me, but I'm gonna go try. I went on to work at the Small Business Administration, but the bug was still there. I always wanted to come back to aviation, and when Avis had the opportunity, I ran for it and got back into aviation. So that's how I got into aviation. I'm here to stay now.
I love it. I love it. So, and shortly, Anthony's going to come and cut me off. Ricky hasn't been saying much, so I guess I'll just keep the floor. Inez had a great question, and kind of just going along with where we are right now. What is a key learning lesson, not a mistake, a key learning lesson for you both that's been an or necessary skill for millennials in this current environment?
For me, and I think I kind of touched on this a little earlier, to always be comfortable with stepping out of your comfort zone. Like, this is not something I'm comfortable with. This type of platform, speaking in front of people, being a panelist, I'm not comfortable with it, but I have to be comfortable with it in order for me to learn from it. So, and to grow from it. So I think always being comfortable with stepping out of your comfort zone would be something that I would take from this.
Just say be patient. Being at AXN, being at Amac, and speaking to, kind of up and coming concessionaires, they want it all the next day, and it doesn't happen. We've been at this for 27 years. Other companies like Concessions International have been around longer. I do think slow and steady wins the race. This is a really difficult industry. And if you're a smaller company and you do make one mistake, it can wipe you out. And having had a couple near-death experiences in this industry, you learn a lot. And it's very competitive. And for a company our size to compete against some of the larger organizations at times, it can be tough. So I would just say, be patient, kind of, plan your growth. And certainly people should be aggressive and assertive, but, it's kind of like one of my favorite quotes from John Wooden: "Be quick, but don't hurry." Just, it's a complex business. It's very difficult. And if going through COVID hasn't demonstrated that, and all the changes that are coming out of this, I don't know what will. So, once again, that's my big advice. Just be patient.
No, that's phenomenal advice, because I know that there's levels to millennials, but one of the things that people always notoriously say is like, we want things quickly, right? We want to be able to just see the fruits of our labor and see them quickly. And everyone that is in this industry, regardless if you are coming from a concession standpoint, you're coming from marketing, regardless of where your background is, BWI didn't appoint Ricky as CEO his first day out. I mean, still don't know how he got the job, but you got to be patient and really understand that things do take time. But I think that the reward is worth the risk, as Bridget has said, and the benefits are absolutely bountiful. I mean, we're in a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? So there's opportunities there for the taking. You just have to be patient in order to get them. That is phenomenal feedback and also advice. Ricky, did you had something that you wanted to say? I wasn't quite sure.
Well, I'm trying to make sure I don't violate the contract. So here's a question, and I'm going to try this for the first time because I always try to push you to the edge a little bit. So I know you guys came into the session, with some questions in mind that you thought we might ask, because that's kind of natural. You kind of want to prepare your thoughts. And I'm going to start with Bridget.
You've not asked not one of those questions.
So Bridget, what is a question that you came into this session expecting us to ask you and we didn't? And then what's your answer to that question? I'm going to ask Dan to do the same.
So one of the questions that I was like waiting for is like, what significant developments have you seen or experienced in the aviation industry during my career? And my answer was going to be, or is, an increase in women in leadership roles. Because I've seen that actually over the past 5 years, I've seen more women in leadership roles than I have ever in aviation. And I would add that as women, we should remember to take more women with us.
That's good.
That sounds like a movement.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to see my
We are a movement.
All right, Dan.
I would thought you would have asked, what changes have I seen in the industry over the last 25 years? And I would have said, we went from no brands to national brands, and no minimum annual guarantees to extraordinarily high minimum guarantees to shorter lease terms, more expensive build outs. And now we're going towards local brands, and just, there's been a huge shift in both expectations of capital investment and what we're offering in the industry over the last 25 years. So I think, Ricky, stay around long enough, you kind of see the same things come back around. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 5-7 years as we come out of COVID. Hopefully, this is the last wave that really poses a risk to our industry, certainly domestically. So that'll be very interesting to see. Where do we head? I know it's one of the things that we've seen on our side, obviously, is, airports moving away from mags, which I think Bridget and I would both applaud.
Absolutely.
Well, as the moderator and being on the airport side, I'm not going to comment on that, other than to say there's sometimes some wishful thinking. But anyway.
So I know this time around on Legend, and so for those that this is your first Legends and Leapers tuning in, we have quite a few new members of AMAC and just people that are tuning in for the first time. We like to be very, very diverse as far as our panelists are concerned, that represent different aspects of the industry, right? Because again, there's so many different aspects of the aviation industry. For this particular today, Dan is actually representing from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? His company has graduated from the ACDBE program and is now a prime concessionaire in their own right. Bridget is coming from the corporate side, nonetheless, and her company's still in concessions on the retail side. One of the questions that was asked, and Dwight Cox, first off, welcome to AMAC. He is a 30+ year Black aviator. Kudos to you just from that alone.
Yeah.
USAF veteran and founder of an aerospace and defense focused firm. And his question is, does AMAC offer opportunities beyond concessions?
I would say absolutely.
While we have that pause, I would like to talk to him offline, because nothing could be more true than the fact that, yes, we offer opportunities, not just in this industry, but AMAC's focus is beyond concessions, beyond A&E contractors. As a matter of fact, we try to focus on aviation and aeronautics in general. And so that's a conversation we can certainly have offline.
Thank you, Ricky, because that was, for the first time you answered that question perfectly, because that's exactly what I was thinking. We were on the same page.
See, Dan, I knew I should have deferred and let you respond.
And then also for those that have other questions along the lines of Dwight's, so you feel free to check out our newest program, AMAC Builds Careers, at www.amac-org.com/AMAC Builds. And Dwight, feel free, or anyone else, feel free to check that out, as well as several other programs that AMAC is going to be featuring and initiating throughout our amazing committees to really help diversify as well and get some more information on that. Sorry, Anthony.
No worries. Thank you, Lauryn, and thank you, Ricky, for guiding us through that conversation. Dan and Bridget, we just have a couple of questions that came through the chat. If we can just go through those questions real quick. There was a question that was asked earlier in the program. The question is, what recommendations do you have for newer members to take advantage of the resources within AMAC, and also starting and building relationships with impressive members like yourselves?
I would just say, reach out. I think, as Ricky just said, right, to Dwight, give me a call. We're all accessible. I think, the one thing that is fun in this industry now is to help the next generation, navigate the maze of for us, non-aeronautical revenue, and give them our 2 cents on how do you deal with people that are Ricky's silo, people that are my silo, people that are in AMAC's space in terms of trying to, understand how to leverage the association to help them navigate the industry. I just, I think to what was said earlier, you can't be shy, and just pick up the phone and call people. And if they don't call you back the first time, call them the second time. If they don't call the second time, call them 3 or 4 times. Be relentless. If it's something that you're really passionate about doing, then go after it. And sometimes people are busy and they might forget to call back, but stay on them, and people will call back. Everybody wants to be helpful. I think that's the great thing about this industry, why we compete with one another. And I think COVID was a great time, and John Clark and I laughed about that. Here we are working shoulder to shoulder to try and save ourselves, and there'll be a day when we come back and we'll be trying to beat each other up, trying to win a contract. But I think we realized how to collaborate, and that also means that the next wave of individuals that are trying to get in this industry, we need to be there for them so that they can take advantage of the same programs that were very helpful to us.
One of my first meetings with Ricky, I told him I wanted to be the Clarence Avant of aviation. So that means that I need people to reach out to me so that I can be the Clarence Avant of aviation. So, I mean, I'm accessible. Another thing I would suggest, and not only just reaching out to any one of us, but join the AMAC committee. I mean, it's just as easy as that. You join a committee, you start building relationships, networking with people within the organization, and you never know, who's on that committee and who can help you move your company, your business, or whatever endeavors you have along the way. So I would definitely join a committee and definitely reach out.
Yeah, I will add if I can. AMAC tries to be representative of the needs of everyone in this aviation space, and we don't always get it right, but there's no other organization in this industry like AMAC. And so to some degree, take personal responsibility for making AMAC yours.
Yes.
But if AMAC is not meeting a need of yours, it's probably because we just aren't aware of it, or you just haven't yelled loud enough, right? So take it upon yourself to become engaged in it. AMAC. Daniel talked about making telephone calls. Couldn't agree with him more. Bridget talked about joining committees. There's no limit on who can join a committee as long as you're a member, or how many committees you can be on, or what you can say when you're participating in a committee. So make AMAC your organization, and it'll be much more beneficial to you.
And it works, because I griped about not having continuing legal education for a long time count. And now there's a committee that is fostering the possibility of getting continuing legal education, so that it's both beneficial for lawyers and non-lawyers.
Fostering the likelihood that there will be.
Yes.
I always like to say, make your membership work for you. So I think that goes along with what Ricky was saying. Lauryn, did you have any comments to add to that?
No, everyone hit every nail on the head. I was actually going to shout out one of our newer members, Chelsea Tams. She's
on fire in the comments.
Yeah,
Yes.
we got to get her on Legends and Leapers. She's the epitome of a leaper. So just quick backstory. AMAC, this past conference that we just had virtually was her first, and she literally hit the ground running. She was a part of the Emerging Leaders events, spoke up, and had Pinky Cole, the founder of Slutty Vegan, just so into her and give her some amazing advice. She's tapped into everything that AMAC has to offer. Last time I talked to her, she just had like 2 meetings last week with some heavy hitters as far as her business is concerned. And so she is a prime example of just all of the opportunities that AMAC has to offer, and taking Dan's advice and Bridget's advice of, being patient, but also being willing to not be shy and take those risks, and just the benefits that can come of it. So kudos to Chelsea. I'm excited to see Dwight follow right in her footsteps as new members as well.
Well, I don't see any other questions that came through the chat, but at this time, we just want to thank our panelists for today, Dan Halpern and Bridget Biagas. Thank you for joining us and spreading your knowledge and just a little bit of background about who you are. We really enjoyed the program. Thank you to our moderators, Ricky and Lauryn, for guiding us through this wonderful conversation. We look forward to everyone joining us next month on the last Wednesday of the month, September 29th at 2 p.m., where we'll have our next Legends and Leapers series program in our series. Please visit us on the website for all other AMAC events as well as industry events. We put that on our AMAC calendar. So take a moment to visit our AMAC calendar, as well as the information that we have posted in our member portal. Again, thank you for joining us on today's Legends and Leapers program.
So are we doing the after show? Because I have some real nitty gritty questions that I want to ask.
We have to, Anthony. It's in the contract. So.
Particularly for Dan. So Dan, I didn't realize that your wife was a senator. So, I thought you were like a heavy hitter and like top dog, but then I realized that you actually married greatness as well. So what is that like, just as far as you guys' household, and her being just a absolute rock star, and then you holding it down from an entrepreneurial perspective?
Well, Lauryn, I have a wife and 3 kids, so in my house, I'm 5th on the list.
You have any animals? Because then that puts you back.
No, I have no animals. Got rid of all those, so I can move back. So, I mean, it's interesting. She's very passionate about public policy, and obviously Georgia's been kind of ground zero with some of these crazy election law bills, and she's doing her thing. And I think that it's interesting. We're both probably, a little older, probably get slapped if she heard me say that. But between running kids and she's running around doing her thing and I'm running around doing my thing, it's good. It's fun. And I think she's really enjoying getting out there. And as Georgia starts to trend in a different direction politically, I think she enjoys being, at the forefront of that and working, collaborating with a lot of her colleagues in that process. So I think, that it's going to be very interesting in the next decade what happens with public policy, which is extraordinarily important to organizations like Amac as country moves forward. Some of these airports are being challenged for takeover. Not to get too esoteric, I know Ricky knows this, the whole PSC versus AIP money for DBE programs and that kind of stuff. So, there's always talk in Georgia about to take over the airport. So, it's kind of, there is some overlap. But yeah, it's nice to have, as I tell her, I'm on the spouse tour now. For a long time, she supported me what I was doing. I'm glad to show up at cocktail parties now and just be the spouse. The governor's supposed to have a tea where all the wives are invited at the tea. I'm like, I want to go to the tea with the first lady, Georgia, I guess it is. I didn't get my invite last year though, so maybe next year I'll get it.
Well, Bridget, I love you to death, but I have to call you out when I find an opportunity to do that, because you're rather schizophrenic. I mean, you've bounced from airports to rental cars to parking and now to food and retail.
It's a growth pattern.
It's a growth. So that's okay. Yeah. So how has that worked out for you? You call it a growth pattern, huh?
It's a growth pattern. I think it's worked out well. I mean, I was able to get back into aviation with Avis. So thank you, Bob Bote, for, making that opportunity happen. So that was the great Bob Bote. Right. So I was able to get back into the aviation world that I love so much, through Avis, and maintain that. I had the opportunity to be a consultant with the Houston airport system on the opposite side of the rental car. It was to help the airport implement a CFC, which most car rentals don't particularly care for, but
likely, yes.
But it worked. And then parking, an opportunity came about in parking, and I was like, well, I hadn't stepped in that shoe yet, so let's see what that's about. And it just it's a growth pattern, so it allowed me to continue to grow. So,
well, Bridget, I would never call you schizophrenic. I feel as though you are the person for all of the different opportunities within the industry.
Now I can say I've touched a little bit of all of it. I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Exactly. To Dwight's point, we far beyond just the concessions, right? Bridges dibbled and dabbled in about everything. I'm waiting for her to say something about sustainability or getting into some other avenue within the industry. But that's absolutely phenomenal. So I have a question, and I kind of want to talk about family, right? Bridget, your mom was very, very—
Why is that, I wonder?
Why
are you so interested in family these days, I wonder?
I need everyone to prepare for my baby girl to be the next Amac child. And so I'm trying to get all of the knowledge from everyone leading into this. So Bridget, you touched on your mom and just, her history within the industry. And I wanted to ask Dan, what?
Stedman.
that one's offline, but go ahead.
Ez just texted me, she Googled your wife. First off, she's absolutely beautiful. Second, she is a bad girl, okay? If you guys get a chance, go ahead and Google the senator, because she is absolutely amazing. And Dan's just trying to be well taken care of at this point. at the first lady's teas and whatnot. But no, in all seriousness, you have 3 kids. Are any of them in the industry? Have they kind of dibbled and dabbled as far as the industry is concerned? Have any plans to kind of continue on with the legacy that you guys have built?
That's a great question. I mean, my kids are 17, 14, and 5. probably the 5-year-old girl because she runs everything. So you really don't know how powerful women are until you have a daughter. So I thought I was done having kids, and all of a sudden, my wife got pregnant. I don't know how, but then we had a daughter 11 years later. So, so I'll be 70 with a high school senior. Not to give up too much information. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where they go. None of my parents were in the hospitality industry, so this was just something. I got a job. I needed a job when I was in high school and fell in love with the industry. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them fall into this. It'd be fun to have one of them do it. It's a hard industry though, right? So you start talking about things you want your kids to do, and we're busy on the weekend. So our busy time is on the weekend. It would mean you give up a lot of your personal life. So we'll see. I'm not pushing it.
Right.
It's fun though, right?
So I shouldn't bring London to all the conferences with me. I need.
Because how else will I see
How
her in all
involved
this
do I
pink and
get her?
green?
Yes, she's already the darling of Amac, and she will become Amac's child. And that's not a bad, it's not a bad place to be.
I'd have to agree. Mine is Bridget trying to dress my child in those AKA colors.
They're
we're not
nice.
gonna have that.
They make babies, so cute.
As long as it's a girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess we call this AMAC After Dark, because it's the program is officially over. Anthony has disappeared. The program is over when Anthony's no longer on the screen.
No, in all seriousness, I just want to, we talked a little bit before the show started, and I hope that everyone noticed that Ricky took off his blazer because it was getting warm in his office. Don't think I'm not going to call you out, Ricky.
Is there a connection between that and your experience at the airport yesterday?
Yes.
I knew that. You know what? Now, just so you know, in full disclosure, I text about 3 of my team members and asked them, because we Lauryn and I, we have this back and forth because we're so crazy about each other, and this is really part of an act to make this thing somewhat interesting. But I text some of my team members and I asked them to please join the chat room and confirm what she said about me applauding her yesterday. And I could not get one of them to confirm it. And so there's a hole in your story, Lauryn.
Did you send them the link to the Zoom, Ricky? Did you send the link to actually get on here?
And I didn't say chime in today. I just asked them to chime in.
Chime in here. Okay.
Well, but anyway, but we certainly appreciate everybody's time. We know you guys could be doing something else that is important. So to peel away over an hour for this is not just beneficial to AMAC, but it's even more benefit to the audience. And we get text messages and emails and feedback after these shows from people who had a chance to kind of witness. Not everybody participates through the chat room, but I just want you to know that that your presence is impactful and it's meaningful, and people truly appreciate it, and we certainly do. It goes beyond what you've been doing for AMAC for so many years, and so I just want to say thank you for your time.
Well, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm not nervous. So.
Oh, so now you're ready to start.
She was waiting for this part.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity.
Same here.
Appreciate the invitation.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for continuing to push me out of my comfort zone. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, because that's really where you grow. You
Yes.
grow when you're uncomfortable, not when you're comfortable, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, take care, you guys. Please be safe.
Thank you,
And
everybody.
the last word. Thank you so much, Dan, Bridget. You guys are absolutely amazing. Look forward to seeing you all in person, hopefully soon again. on behalf of Legends and Leapers featuring Lauryn Mangum Reed with a small portion by Ricky Smith.
That is
We want
not
to
in
thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
that is not in the contract.
Check out, Ricky, you're going digital, Ricky. Again, check out AMAC's website to look at AMAC Fields and all the other amazing opportunities and programs that we
Join
have.
a committee. Join a committee.
Yes, and committees. Please get involved, join a committee. We have a lot of exciting things that we have in the works coming soon. So thank you all so much. Anthony, does that work for you for a final closing?
It was perfect, Lauryn. Perfect.
Oh, Anthony, look, don't be kissing up to her. That's
A little outside your contract, but it was perfect.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you.
We'll negotiate it with our opening music.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.